In approximately 16 hours, the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics will release the May Consumer Price Index. The consensus forecast says inflation will breach 4% for the first time since the Iran war started. Goldman Sachs will set the final price for the largest IPO in history. 24 hours after that, the FIFA World Cup opens its first match. And somewhere in this same 72-hour window, the Trump administration has every incentive in the world to announce a signed Iran deal. These events are not coincidences sitting next to each other. They are the same pressure front, and they are all arriving at once. Let me take them apart, and then let me tell you what 4% inflation actually looks like for the people living inside it. Start with tomorrow morning, because the sequence matters. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, June 10th, the BLS releases the Consumer Price Index for May 2026. Every forecaster of note has a number above the April reading of 3.8%. Seeking Alpha, publishing its CPI preview on June 5th, said headline inflation is expected to spike above 4%, driven by energy and manufacturing input prices passing through to consumer goods. The Cleveland Fed's nowcast model, which processes real-time price data rather than waiting for the monthly survey, is pointing to approximately 4.05%. The Philadelphia Fed's Q2 survey of professional forecasters raised its fourth-quarter CPI estimate to 3.5%, but that is the annual average across the full year, not the May spike. Polymarket has been pricing the above 4% outcome at elevated probability since early June. If May CPI comes in above 4%, several things happen simultaneously. The Federal Reserve's June 16-17 meeting, which already carries the highest stakes of any FOMC gathering since 2023, becomes a near impossible decision. Inflation running at 4%, double the Fed's target. With a new chair who was appointed by a president who wants rate cuts, meeting 1 week after a war's ceasefire is still unmined and unsigned. The rate market, which has already priced zero cuts through April 2031, would reprice further, potentially toward an explicit hike. That moves the 10-year Treasury yield higher. That makes borrowing more expensive for everyone, and mortgage rates, which have been crushing the housing market all year, go up again. Then there's SpaceX. Book building closes sometime today or tomorrow, with Goldman setting the final price on June 11th. SpaceX is pricing at $135 a share. The deal is oversubscribed with $150 billion in demand. It is expected to begin trading June 12th at 9:30 a.m. What the retail investors who submitted IOIs on Robinhood and Schwab this week will be doing on June 12th is buying into the opening trade on the first full trading day after a May CPI print that could have significantly altered the rate environment in which a company burning $4.27 billion per quarter at 94 times trailing revenue should be valued. Here's the critical observation. A CPI above 4% makes the case for rate hikes, not cuts. Higher rates compress the valuations of long-duration growth assets, assets valued on earnings many years in the future. SpaceX at $1.75 trillion is almost entirely a long-duration growth asset. Morgan Stanley told investors this week that SpaceX will generate $3.4 trillion in revenue by 2040. That projection is worth nothing if rates rise and the discount rate applied to 2040 cash flows increases. The present value of a 2040 earnings stream is highly sensitive to the interest rate environment in June 2026. The people who set the $135 price know this. The book-building period has run during a week of Iran deal optimism, declining gas prices, and market records. If the Iran deal is signed before June 11th, dropping oil prices, potentially softening the May energy component of CPI, generating a market rally, SpaceX prices into the best possible environment. If the deal is not signed and CPI comes in above 4%, the environment on June 11th looks considerably different. The person who controls the timing of the Iran deal announcement is Donald Trump. The person who owns the largest single stake in the company pricing on June 11 is Elon Musk, who is also a senior advisor to Donald Trump. I am describing geometry, not conspiracy. but the geometry is worth naming plainly. A deal announcement this week would benefit the IPO. The IPO prices on Thursday. The incentive for an announcement before Thursday is real and visible to everyone in the room. Now the SoFi situation, which has developed a new dimension that the headlines are not fully capturing. Negotiations between Unite Here Local 11 and Legends Global, the food service operator at SoFi Stadium, continued Monday. The World Cup opens Thursday. The U.S. team plays Paraguay at SoFi on Friday. ESPN's reporting from the union noted that Legends has agreed to minimal wage increases for cooks and dishwashers and offered wage freezes, not small increases, freezes, for some suite attendants and bartenders. This is at an event that will bring in tens of billions in global revenue, and that Legends had won the contract to service specifically because of its track record at major sporting events. But here is the detail that the wrap surfaced this week that almost nothing else has picked up. Among the union's formal demands is a set of protections around artificial intelligence, technology, and subcontracting. Specifically, workers want limits on what automated systems can replace their functions, and guarantees that subcontracting, which often accompanies the introduction of self-service kiosks and automated food preparation systems, won't be used to eliminate their jobs or hollow out their union protections. Think about what is happening in that sentence. The cooks, dishwashers, bartenders, and servers at SoFi Stadium are negotiating against the prospect of being replaced by automated systems. At the same event, whose opening match on June 12th coincides with the NASDAQ debut of SpaceX, the company formed by the merger of a rocket manufacturer and xAI, one of the frontier AI companies racing to automate exactly the kind of routine task-based labor that a stadium's food service operation represents. The workers who are fighting for ice protections and wage floors are fighting on a second front simultaneously: the technological substitution of their labor by the companies that are about to become the most valuable publicly traded entities in American history. Union co-president Kurt Peterson told reporters that negotiations had been moving at a glacial pace. Legends expressed confidence that an agreement could be reached and said it had contingency staffing plans in place if a strike occurred. FIFA's background check requirement, however, means those contingency workers would be difficult to deploy at speed. Union officials told NBC Sports that the U.S. team's June 12th opener would be an opportune moment to exercise their strike authorization if demands weren't met. The tournament opens June 11th. The U.S. match is June 12th. Today is June 9th. And now I want to talk about what 4% inflation actually means for people who don't own financial assets. Polymarket's AI-generated market summary for its CPI prediction market noted something specific that appeared in its June 8th update. Major fast food chains, Wendy's, Taco Bell, and McDonald's, introduced new value menus in May 2026 to attract consumers facing 4.1% higher dining costs, not 4.1% year-over-year growth in fine dining, 4.1% higher costs at fast food restaurants. I want to be precise about what that sentence means. Fast food exists as a product category specifically because it is the most affordable option in the prepared food market. When the people who eat at fast food restaurants can no longer comfortably afford fast food at regular menu prices, and chains respond by launching value menus specifically to attract customers who are now described as cost-conscious, you are describing a population that has been priced down to the floor of the consumer economy. The McDonald's $4 menu, the Taco Bell Value First promotion, the Wendy's value deals. These are not marketing campaigns designed to grow market share in a healthy economy. They are responses to a consumer base that has been compressed by 18 months of inflation into a spending posture where even the cheapest category of restaurant food requires price accommodation to retain customers. The core demographic of fast food, lower and middle-income workers, families, hourly employees, is the same demographic that has been most severely affected by the gas price spike from the Iran war, by the Medicaid work requirements now being implemented, and by the big beautiful bill's SNAP reductions that are starting to take effect. The Bureau of Labor Statistics will release a number tomorrow morning. That number will be compared to a target of 2%. If it comes in above 4%, It will be described as a hot CPI print, and the Fed will be discussed. The press briefings will run through the monetary policy implications. The yield curve will move. Rate expectations will reprice. And in the background, invisible to that coverage, Wendy's will be running a $4 deal for people who used to be able to afford a regular combo meal and now can't. The macro number and the human experience of that number are not the same document, and the coverage tends to confuse them. This week's convergence, CPI, SpaceX, World Cup, Iran deal, will produce an extraordinary amount of financial press. The people most affected by the number that prints tomorrow are the people least represented in the coverage of it. They are the same people negotiating for wage increases at SoFi Stadium while their employer offers them freezes. They are the same people driving to work at $4.32 a gallon who order from the value menu because it's what the budget allows. 3 threads this week: the war, the market, the cost of living have been converging toward tomorrow morning. The May CPI is the number that connects all of them. If it prints above 4%, the Fed faces a choice it has been trying to avoid for 3 months. The administration gets a reprieve, and the SpaceX IPO prices into a more favorable market. If the Iran deal signs before the number drops, the energy component of CPI softens, and everyone with a stake in the outcome gets a better result. The workers at SoFi Stadium are negotiating for the right not to be arrested at work and not to be replaced by machines. The banks are booking a $75 billion offering oversubscribed, with $150 billion in demand. The fast food chains are running value deals for people the economy has priced out of its regular menu. These 3 things are happening simultaneously, in the same country, in the same economy. And tomorrow morning at 8:30, a number will print that tells you what all of it costs.